Happy Camp Nano. It is almost 7 p.m. on July 1st and I have not done any writing today. I don't know if this is going to be the first clip in a new vlog. I'm assuming it's going to be, so hi, hello. I am Autumn Ashley. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. I am participating in Camp Nano. We will write on the first day. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it right now. There are a few people doing writing sprints. I think I'm just gonna have them on in the background. I actually think both of the streams are going to be ending in 20 minutes or something like that. Today's Friday. So today and tomorrow, I want to work on chapter 7 and try to finish chapter 7. The reason I want to do this is I am meeting with my critique partner on Saturday night instead of a Wednesday. So I think we're going to change our meetups to a Saturday. My weekly goals, instead of being from like a Wednesday to a Tuesday, we're gonna change. I'm assuming we're going to change our weekly goals, the days, to maybe Sunday to Saturday. My plan is to finish chapter 7 at the end of this week, and then when we're starting our new goals and we're setting our new goals, I can go ahead and start on a new chapter. That would just be ideal. Hopefully I can do that. I don't think I have that much left of chapter 7 to do, but I do need to figure out where I was and where I want that chapter to go. It's going to take a little bit of time to get into that chapter, but hopefully I can spend the rest of tonight or the next couple of hours working on chapter 7. So that's what we're going to do at Happy Camp Nano. I will see you guys soon. So I just did one 20-minute sprint. I did a little bit of catching up and reflecting on what I had written in the chapter and where I wanted this chapter to go. And so I wrote a little bit more. It was more dialogue between my main character and one of my secondary characters. We're learning a little bit more about the magic system, the magic within people, and how it differs from the magic that's within people versus the magic that's in the gods. I don't feel like I did my best explaining this, and I feel like I have my work cut out for me when I do all of my following drafts. I think it's fine for now. However, I do feel like I'm a little stuck. And what I feel stuck on is not knowing quite where I want to go next. I've been going through my outline, and my outline is very vague, and the reason I wanted it to be vague or just kind of briefly touching on things is because I didn't want it to be so strict, or when I sat down I would want to drift, you know, one way or another. And if I had such a tight outline, I wouldn't be able to do as much adventuring out. But I feel like it's almost a little too vague, where I am leaving a lot up to my imagination for when I'm sitting down now to write. I don't know if I like that. When I sit down to write, I like to have a plan. With me giving myself that little bit of free time and a little bit of that freeness to pants, I feel like I've given myself too much. So I think I honestly might sit and read through what I've written for the last couple of chapters, go through my outline, and see if I can come up with like a mental picture of where I wanted my story to go. Jot all of those notes down within my draft 1 document, and as I write it, I can keep referring down to those bullet points that I might come up with. Maybe not tonight, but I think working forward to finish Act 1. I think I want to go back and read Save the Cat too, because I also think a little bit of the problem is I almost don't feel like I have enough meat in the story to finish Act 1 to get it to Act 2, because I know I have a lot of stakes that I want to ramp up to get to the middle of Act 2, but I think it's finding the connecting stuff to get it there. I think that's what we're lacking, and it might just be things that I need to sit and think about, and it might also be things where I could potentially introduce a few more subplots, maybe do a little bit more world building, maybe have the characters or some of the other characters mention something which could plant that seed for a subplot, and then it'll give me more to work with. I feel like I'm focusing a lot on the main plot of the story, which is absolutely totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that could also be where my problem is coming from, where I feel like I don't have enough meat to finish this first act. I don't have, you know, subplots to go off of and to add a little bit to the story. I know I could write vague chapters for the rest of Act 1 to get to Act 2, but I just don't want it to be too vague. I want to give myself as much information as I can. That's where we're at. I guess we'll keep playing around, seeing what we can come up with, but that's the dilemma right now. Good morning, happy Saturday. It is July 2nd, about 9:30 in the morning. I want to talk to you guys about what happened last night. I actually met up with one of my writing friends. I was telling her I think what part of the issue is. I don't think I am really focusing a lot on the subplots of the story, just mainly the meat of the story, that main plot. I think I'd said a lot of the side dishes I haven't really discovered yet. Her and I, we were talking about it and talking through it, and she is a contemporary romance author, so she was like, well, do you have like a romance subplot? Have you built that up a little bit? And while yes, I had, I didn't want to build it up too much since it's really not one of the main plots of the story, but I wrote it down anyways. And how I decided to go about this, and I talked to my friend about this, and she says that she does the same thing if she kind of feels like she's a little stuck and she's not sure where to go. What she does is she will reread what she's written so far. Or if she's halfway through the book, she'll read maybe the last 5 or 6 chapters or something like that. I was at the end of chapter 7 trying to figure out how to end that chapter and how to start the next chapter. I just went ahead and reread everything. So I reread chapters 1 all the way through what I wrote for chapter 7. And what I did was I wrote down all of the key things that happened in this story. And I wrote them down in my notebook. And I also jotted down pretty much the same notes in a Google Doc, and that seems like a waste of time since I'm writing them in 2 places. Sometimes I don't always have my notebook, but I always have my phone. I wanted to try to keep it consistent and keep 1 copy electronic and then 1 copy a physical copy. I went through and I wrote down multiple things. These categories and these things have to deal with some of the other characters, potentially building up some subplots with, I guess, more minor characters. The magic and the world building, I feel like I could throw in a little bit more world building. I still think I need to explain the magic system a little bit more, so that's something I can try to weave in a little bit more in the rest of Act 1 once I go back through to begin the second draft. I do think towards the beginning of the story and then all through the first act, I need to give as much information about the magic system as I can, so for the rest of the story, the readers already have the magic system and the world set up to carry them through the rest of the story. So I think that can help me beef up the rest of this first act. I'm always so funny about trying to include too many flashbacks, but I think we need one. My main character's brother has gone missing, so she's trying to find him. I think what we need is a few more scenes at the beginning and in Act 1 to show my main character's relationship with her brother. I think I can include something like that in here as well, and to develop some of the characters' relationships. Not necessarily romantic relationships, but for them to form friendships. And if they have a friendship before the story opens up, I need to make sure that I carry that friendship and that relationship through the rest of the story. I am very happy to say that I did work through that stuck feeling thanks to my writing friend. Thank you, Trinity, for helping me. I'm going to leave Trinity linked in the description box below if you want to check her out. She helped me work through this, and she was awesome. In addition to writing out everything, I listened to my playlist, which was really awesome. I'm gonna leave my playlist linked in the description box below. It is more of a fantasy playlist, but you're more than welcome to listen to it. I went through my Pinterest board. So Trinity and I, we did 3 25-minute sprints last night and then 1 20-minute sprint. For 2 of those sprints, I was focused on this brainstorming. So I spent about an hour brainstorming, trying to figure out the direction that I wanted this Act 1 to go. The last 2 sprints, which was about 45 minutes, I spent actually writing chapter 8 last night. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take me to finish chapter 7, but I finished chapter 7 last night, so we're just gonna keep rolling. Maybe I can finish chapter 8 today, and then starting on Sunday, I can start with a fresh chapter 9. Who knows? I'm not really sure, but we're just gonna keep rolling with it and we're going to see where everything gets me. We're going to continue on with chapter 8 and wish me luck. I have done two 20-minute sprints. I have taken a little bit of a break in between those two and I walked around and stretched my legs and refilled my water and all that fun stuff. This chapter is going so well. I am really happy that I took the time last night to do a little bit more brainstorming to figure out where I wanted the rest of Act 1 to go to then move into Act 2. The scene that I'm writing, it's still chapter 8. I want chapter 8 to have two different scenes. The scene is turning into something quite long, so it might get broken up into two chapters. I'm not really sure quite yet, but I really like this scene. My main character and one of the secondary characters, the one that gave her the magic, they went out to kind of a creepy, eerie place sometime during the night. So it's dark outside and they are in a magical swamp, which is where they had this deal unfold. Norelle, which is my main character, she has a lot of bad memories with this place. The one memory that sticks out in her mind is one of her first memories with her and her dad and him basically abandoning her here when she was a child. It wasn't a very good experience. So we do get a little bit of that backstory. And this is also the same swamp where she made the deal with this character at the very beginning of the novel. There's a lot of symbolism coming back here. Norelle is very unsettled, but it's also a place for the two of them to go right now because he is trying to get her to use a little bit of the magic or understand how the magic that she has within her, she can create small life. I like the chemistry between these two characters. I am happy with how it's going. I think doing the brainstorming definitely helped get to this scene and this chapter. I'm gonna take another break, walk around, do a little bit of other things, and then I want to come back and do another sprint. Hopefully I can do a couple more sprints today, but I'm feeling really good about this chapter. Good morning. It is, I don't even know what day it is. I just woke up like 30 minutes ago. So my life is not completely put together yet. It's Thursday, July 7th, and it's 9:30 in the morning. I want to recap everything for you guys that I did a little bit last week since the last time I filmed. I want to catch you guys up with everything that I was working on. In my last video, I did my announcement for Camp Nano. I know the first 2 days in July, I wasn't necessarily counting them towards anything because I was starting the full week of trying to hit these certain goals on July 3rd, and it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday. Sorry, I'm like all over the place right now. I have not drank my coffee yet. On the first 2 days in July, I wrote in total for both of those 2 days. So July 1st and July 2nd, I wrote a total of exactly 3 hours. And the reason I am like so freaking out about writing for a total of 3 hours in those 2 days because every week in June, I barely made it over 2 hours worth of writing total for 7 days. I was very impressed that just in 2 days in July, first 2 days, I was able to write for 3 hours. So I felt like that set me up really great for July. Starting this first week, so since today is the 7th, it's Thursday, we are 4 days. I think we're 4 days into the first week that I'm trying to keep track and do my Camp Nano goals. So far this week, I have only written on July 4th and I did one 15-minute sprint. And in that sprint, I ended up finishing chapter 8, which is perfect because we are going to start a new chapter. We're able to dive in and I am just really excited for this. With chapter 8, I can't quite remember where it ended, so I will have to reread all of that stuff and get back to you on that. I'll give you guys that little update later. So for today, what I plan on working on, I have tons of cleaning that needs to get done around this place. I feel like there's a little layer of grime just between you and I, so I need to do a little bit of scrubby scrub. There's a few other things that I need to do cleaning wise, but definitely writing. Last night I did not finish a Brandon Sanderson lecture that I would like to have finished. I think I'm about halfway through that video, so I think while I wake up I want to work on a Brandon Sanderson lecture. I'm on lecture 9. I think that's going to be a good route to go because I feel so inspired after I watch a Brandon Sanderson lecture. I have my notebook that I'm gonna take notes while I watch his lecture. I need to do some editing for a video, which is going to be this video that will go up. We do have quite a bit of things to do today. Later on in the day, I would like to film a video if I possibly can. But if not, I can push that to tomorrow. It's not that big of a deal. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day. Tomorrow's Friday, but right now, today's to-do list is to do some cleaning. We're gonna do some writing. I would also like to read, I forgot to say that. Finish a lecture and edit a video. And if I can, I'll do a little bit of filming. So we have lots to do today. We're good, we still have time. It's only 9:30 in the morning. So I think how I'm going to do this is finish Brandon Sanderson's lecture, and that should take me about 45 minutes to an hour, because I always like stop, write down what he is talking about. Sometimes I rewind it to like re-listen to something that he said. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer, even though there's 30 minutes left of the video. And then I think after that, I'll do 30 minutes of cleaning, do some type of cleaning, something somewhere, and then finally sit down and then do some writing. So I think that's how we're going to tackle the day, and then just do things in sprints. That's what we got going on. Let's go ahead and do this Brandon Sanderson lecture and finish this bad boy. Enjoy today. That scared the mess out of me. I forget that Mustang park's right there. That's one thing I have not really gotten used to coming from the country and living more in like a city area. All the cars. Let's get to work because we got a lot of work to do. So, see you soon. So I finished Brandy Sandy's lecture. I started a load of laundry, and right now I am going to reread chapter 5. I'm gonna reread chapter 8 to figure out where I want to go for chapter 9. When I did chapter 8, before I got into that chapter, I believe I got a little stuck, and I talked to one of my writing friends. Her and I were able to work myself through it, and I was able to write chapter 8 pretty quickly, actually. It's been taking me a little while to get through these chapters, but I wrote chapter 8 fairly quickly. I know I have a feeling of where I want chapter 9 to go, but I just can't remember what that is. We are going to eat lunch / breakfast. It's 11:15 and reread chapter 8. So I'm rereading chapter 8, and I can't believe that I didn't quite remember what was going on in that chapter, because it's one of my favorite chapters. We've got tons of world building in this chapter, and honestly there's probably some info dumps-ish, maybe, but I feel like I did it pretty well with this chapter. I think I talked a little bit about this a couple of days ago in my last clip, but I do want to talk about it. With this chapter, I am doing more world building. How I'm doing this world building and where these characters are. They are in the magical swamp that is on like the edge of this kingdom or whatever. And part of the reason why we have this swamp is it helps protect this kingdom. Maybe intentionally, maybe not intentionally. It could just be the location of where the swamp is and this kingdom is. So this swamp is magical, and what makes it magical is something. The whole thing is alive in a way where it communicates with the world. I feel like the best way that I can compare it to, you know, in the Avatar, The Last Airbender, in the cartoon, when Aang, Sokka, and Katara, they are sucked in by a tornado into that magical swamp place, and the whole swamp is alive. I'm wanting the swamp to be alive in that kind of sense, where it is interacting with the people that are in the swamp. In this chapter, we do have a flashback. I guess there's a couple of flashbacks, because in the first chapter, this was the swamp that she had met the secondary character in. So we do get a connection back to their original conversation, where my secondary character says, "You remember this place, right?" And Norel, my main character, she pretty much says, "Yes, I do remember this place, but not for the reasons you think." And then we get a little bit more background of the main plot and why my main character had made this deal. We do get a background of the swamp, in addition to the magic system in the world. There's a lot that's going on in this chapter. It seems a little info dumpy, but it feels appropriate for this first draft, so we're gonna keep it. This was completely unintentional. The trees that are in this forest, they speak their own language, and the language is an ancient language that not many people nowadays in this current world? No. My secondary character knows bits and pieces of the language, and so he is teaching that language to my main character, which later on in the story, I do want that language to play a part. In Act 2, they go into the swamp. They have like this competition, but I'm not quite sure if that competition is going to actually happen anymore. I feel like there's a lot going on in this chapter, but this is by far one of my favorite chapters. I really enjoyed writing the first chapter, getting to know those characters. And then there was another scene, my tavern scene, that was one of my favorite scenes too. I feel really good about this scene. I very, very much enjoy it. It might feel a little info dumpy, but you know, it's fine. I'm telling myself the story since this is the first draft. I'm still just rolling through the chapter, but as I'm coming near the end of the chapter, I think I wanted the chapter to end where I had stopped the last time I did a sprint. I think I wanted to add a little bit more to this scene in this chapter, but I wasn't quite sure where I wanted it to go. So I think we're gonna leave it for now. Start a new chapter, start with chapter 9. Since this scene took place during the night in the swamp, we get a little bit of flashbacks and magic system, world building, character development, all that fun stuff. I think this next chapter, I say it's going to time jump, but it's going to be what's happening later on in the day. And with this next chapter, I had a character that just recently died and had a very horrible death. We need to have a conversation about that. Well, we don't, not me and you, but my characters do. And I want that to drive a wedge between some of the characters and this squad. And the squad, as in the characters that have been introduced so far, they have been very close. And I feel like in my tavern scene, I was able to show them being connected. But then as we continue on with Act 1, I want that wedge to be driven more in between the characters. I think that's where we're going to go now. We need to drive that wedge. We need to add some tension between these characters as we are nearing the end of Act 1. So we're starting on chapter 9, and I think Act 1 is going to have about 13 to 14 chapters. We need to start gearing up to prepare for Act 2. And I think this chapter is going to be a great turning point. There's a gnat flying around. How you doing? So I think we need to drive that wedge in this chapter. That's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on this chapter, adding some tension between the characters, putting that wedge in there, and start turning the gears for Act 2. It is currently raining outside. I don't know if you guys can see the rain, but it's pretty dark out there. Thunder was booming and banging earlier. We're making progress. Today, I folded the laundry, which I did off camera. I finished halfway cleaning the kitchen. I want to clean the counters next, but I'm gonna let those dishes dry a little bit more and then I can put them away. And then I want to work on writing for a little bit more. I think I wanna do one more 20-minute sprint before I move to my writing babe cave. I will proceed to work on editing this video. I've done a total of 1 hour of writing today, so I've done 3 20-minute sprints. I feel pretty good about what I've done. I don't feel like the actions are exactly what I want, but I feel like the idea that I have for what's going on for this chapter, so these two characters got into an argument a little bit, you know, of a fist-to-fist tussle, if you will. It ended, and then I have where we are making a pretty big announcement for something that is going to be happening at the beginning of Act 2. I feel like this is a good part for that in the middle of this chapter. For the rest of Act 1, I can put my characters in a somewhat new setting, get them to interact a little bit more, and raise the stakes just a little bit by putting them in a new area. At the end of the summer, they were supposed to be doing some type of thing. Then, because of the events that have happened over the course of the book, which are the first 8 chapters, the timeline for that got shifted back, so closer. Within a week, they are going to be whisked away and doing something else. I feel like that this was a good point for this to happen, for my characters to have that tussle, to see that conflict between them that is driving that wedge. I don't feel like I did my best job at driving that wedge. There was something that I said and I can't quite remember what it was, but it was very cliche, and I think I put a little comment and I was like, we'll fix this later, but I know what I mean. For pushing that time frame forward back a little bit closer to the now time, it's going to give them less time to recover from that character's death, from this turmoil, this conflict. There are a few other things that are in question too. I felt like this was a good time for that to happen. We'll have 3.5 chapters left-ish to finish up where I want Act 1 to end. It seems like it's working, at least for this first draft, so I'm okay with it. It certainly is not bestseller material, but it's not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be telling myself the story. I stopped in the middle of chapter 9, like right in the middle of a sentence, so I think I'm just going to finish that sentence, and then I need to move on and do some other things for today, which were some of the things that I talked about earlier. That's going to be it for this video. Since I have finished all of my writing, I might do a little bit later on, but I'll just tack that onto the next vlog. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you made it to this part, don't forget to give me that thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed to my channel and you want to be part of my writing journey, because I want you to be part of my writing journey, please be sure to subscribe, and I will see everybody in my next video. Bye.